Welcome everybody to Cup with GUP on this Wednesday, August 25th, 2021. It is a hot and humid day here in Norman, Oklahoma. Heat index up to 105, so that is fun times. Hopefully get some cooler weather next week rolling in, ready for fall already, and football comes with that. Use the code NFL, get 25% off any package right now. That includes a 7-day free trial. You cancel inside that 7 days, you never see a charge. If you're a current member and you want to upgrade to full site access, you can DM me on Twitter or in the GC Warrior Room Slack, and I will get you your loyalty code to use for that upgrade. Everybody that is new or upgraded member from August 1st through Monday Night Football on September 13th will be tossed into some giveaways we will do after that. So make sure you hop in there before then. Prices go up September 14th. So now's the time to come check us out. I will hit more on that at the end of the pod on some of the stuff we got coming out and what we released yesterday. Listener League is in this podcast. Let's get it full. Only 300 spots this week with only a quick turnaround, 2 day basically. 500 to first, flat payouts, limited rate, 3 max, last chance to get into the Tournament of Champions contest we will run next week. Rate and review us on iTunes goes a long way. I will do more giveaways leading up to week 1 NFL. And I'll be looking at people that have rate and reviewed us for those giveaways, and then our subscribers on YouTube. So subscribe to us on YouTube, like this video, and then when we do comments and stuff, leave us some comments. We build those up. I'll do some more giveaways in the future. BMW Championship update for me on the PGA side of things. It looks like I'm finalizing, final thoughts and ownership and all that kind of stuff here this morning. Obviously been a quick turnaround this week with everything coming out basically yesterday morning. For the way I felt yesterday on Smash Factor really hadn't changed. I think Rahm's going to be popular. I think, it was no shocker that the 9Ks were going to be very popular and get hammered pretty well. I think JT has a chance to have some ownership just with the way he played last week, scored well, especially on DraftKings scoring. If people want to save money there or just get some exposure. But outside of JT and Rahm, I think you really have some leverage spots there if you want to with the rest of that range, in general. I think Spieth, Brooks, Morikawa and Schauffele will all be much lower owned, and mainly because of the 9Ks. And I've went into some of that on the premium content, and we'll hit on some more things in the final thoughts article I put out. But, the 9K range is just, when you're splitting hairs. And so now you can start building that balanced build or get 2 or 3 of these 9K guys in the same lineup. It's appealing as much as Rahm's appealing. That's the one I'm struggling with. I'm like, all right, I know people are going to play Rahm because he's been on fire, even though he got 3rd last week. But as people start building, you start looking at builds, you're like, oh, well, I could just drop down to, Rory, Bryson, Cantley, Hovland, and get 2 or 3 of those guys in. And is that better than going Rahm, a 9K guy, and then an 8 or 7 or 6 or whatever? Because there's some pretty, attractive plays in the 6K, I do think Rahm will still be popular because you can still do some pretty solid builds there depending on how risky you want to get. For me, especially as I'm finalizing ownership, the way that I think most of these builds are going to fall into place and projecting ownership on a 69-man no-cut event, especially this late in the season, it's hard. It's one of the harder things to do because, 1 or 2 pieces are out of line to what you think, and the whole ownership can be, wonky and flip on its tail. So you can look real stupid. And I caution the premium members about that, hey, this week is a little more difficult. And this week, you're cramming in as many podcasts and reading articles and stuff where people, some of the people drive to try to gauge ownership as well on the anecdotal part for me. It certainly can be difficult, especially with one less day. But I think the 7Ks are really going to be, I think if you did like a mini build or something where you're focusing on the 10Ks outside of Rahm and maybe JT and the 7Ks, you'll really get some unique lineups there. It's risky, right? Because there's a lot of value in win equity and value equity, in that 9K and 8K range for sure. And that's why the ownership's going there. But, generally we have someone in the sevens that sticks out pretty chalky. I don't really have any. There's 4 or 5 that I think are going to be, in that 12 to 15% range. But I don't really see hardly anybody. I don't see anybody that's even going to touch 20% in the 7K range. It's just going to be too spread out in this kind of event. And then with the popularity of the 9s and 8s, people I think feel more comfortable going, well, I'll just drop to the 6 because I get them. The other mindset of this week is I get them for 4 rounds. So I'll just take my chances with, a Munoz, Cam Davis who scores well. We talked about him, or Aaron Wise getting some steam, guys like that. And so you can definitely be unique this week while still eating some chalk. No doubt about it. I think lineup construction is your biggest deal this week, opposed to who you play and how much leverage, how you build those lineups, and really paying attention to that is where I think the key is this week. Weather-wise, a little bit of showers popping up for late Thursday and late Saturday. Nothing crazy. It's still going to be hot and humid. Similar weather to here. It looks like it's going to be in the 90s. It's, sticky, hot. Same thing as here. So, but up there, I don't know how much they're used to it in Maryland compared to here in the South. But, your boys are going to be sweating some. So, but no delays that I see at all, hardly at all. And no weather advantage. These guys are all going out too close together with only being 69 guys that there wouldn't be any weather advantage for me anyways. Moving up for me on the ranks, Keith Mitchell's a guy that I just keep, every time I look and dive in deep, and look at some historical trends with him when he's hit and got hot. I like him a lot this week. I really think he could potentially win it, but I love his top 20 upside here. And at 6,500, he's just a guy that I think you'd be sitting there Sunday and go, man, he was hot. He finished hot. He's coming in, playing with all the momentum. I think kind of a nothing to lose attitude, because when you're sitting there just inside the top 70, like, you have to go low this week and get up there and make a run to jump inside that top 30. Doesn't mean necessarily, and I'm not factoring that too much full tourney. Now, one thing I would say is come Sunday, Saturday night when I'm doing showstoppers, I may look at the current projected to kind of go, if a guy is way out of it, what's his, does he get real risky, or a guy is sitting in projected 40th on the FedEx and they're, they want to get inside the top 30 as much as they want to win. So I may have some discussion on that Saturday night, but pre-tourney, I'm not going to focus a lot on it. But with him, I just really like him this week. I think he can, easily be inside the top 20 and be contending come. He can miss. That's just like anybody. When he's 6,500 for a reason. He's 150 to 1 or 125 to 1, depending on when you look, for a reason. His putter can, leave him in an instant. So all those things are against him, but I'm just going to ride that heater there, and he's moved up for me. And I liked him yesterday. I just, I still like him even more. Finau started out ranked a little lower for me when you bring in that longer term view, as we did the deep dive and isolated a few things. He's moved up quite a bit in my rankings this week. Going to be low owned in that, especially that coveted 9K range. I could easily see him being under 10%. That's a hard one for me, because Finau's so popular generally in DFS. Then he goes on this kind of lull, and he really wasn't even popular last week, even at a cheap price. Now he wins. He's a, likable guy. He's always been a DFS darling, but now he's 9,800 and he's priced over guys like, people are just going to go, oh, well, he just won. So why would I think I'm going to go Bryson or Rory or Hovland or Cantley, or Berger, and so I really think he could flirt with under 10%. And so I like him, and I think he's a great leverage play in MMEs this week. Don't know if I get him in the core type deal, but he's certainly viable for some MMEs. And Xander has kind of moved up for me. I don't know where I'm going with him yet, but because he's squeezed by Rahm and JT, I think people are going to fall off of him. He's a great no-cut player. We know the jokes that get had there, and people mess with our boy Nagel's bagel, but he is. It's just facts. It doesn't mean that now he's going to win, because it is. It's still a golf tournament, but I think people will go, I'd rather, if they're at that price, I think they go, okay, do I want to save 500 on JT and bump another 9K guy or whatever they're thinking, or pay up 600 to Rahm and just drop down somewhere else. I think he could kind of be the squeeze there in between JT and Rahm. Because of that, I think he's a potential moved up in my player pool potential for the week. Faded moving down for me. Bryson's one that, he was the bubble boy yesterday. I felt he was going to be popular, but obviously when I'm doing my pod, I hadn't listened to anything or read anything yet. A bunch of the auto bets on him that happened yesterday morning had me thinking that early. I think he's going to be the most popular on the slate. I think he'll be right there for sure, top 3, but I think he'll probably wind up being the highest owned at that price. I'll just be underweight and I'll pick and choose. What I would do is if you want to take my advice, certainly you can be different. And I've said this, I think I said it yesterday in one of the articles, chalk has just continued to hit. I've said it on podcasts the last month. And so probably he wins this thing by 4 strokes. And once again, we just, guys like me that try to be a little different than the chalk type people. It's hard, but I like him. I don't mind him this week. He's going to come in top 5 in my final rankings, just looking at everything. But at his ownership, what I'll do is I'll be light on him if I play him, and I'll just be really I'll look at every lineup I have him in, and I'll be unique with him so that I can be different. So that's a way to gain leverage on the field without having to pay the 23, 25, whatever percent he comes in at. And still get some shares in the MMEs. He won't be in my core. I won't be playing him in 1-3 max. I like some other plays to get off of that. So that I'm down on him a little bit. Morikawa, I wouldn't have liked him even if he was kind of healthy this week, just because of the way the course lays out. Struggling a little bit to see, I have him lower ownership just because of the injury deal that normally keeps people off because they don't want to take a risk. And you dang sure don't want to take a risk in a no-cut event, because if you lose a guy in a no-cut event, you're dead. Because there isn't a chance of, at a cut event, 5 of 6 sucks, but some weeks 5 of 6 is still in the cash easily. So this week, 90-something% of the lineups are going to have 6 of 6. If he withdrew, you're dead. I mean, obviously every lineup would be 6 of 6 unless someone withdraws. So it's a little risky there. Him and Usti, and Usti's another one. I probably won't play much Usti this week, if any at all. If I'm building 150 lineups, I may have a little bit of shares, but I don't like either one of them. Just minus the ownership stuff. Both of them are down on my list. And then Munoz is one that I think is going to be generally like him. I play him. I think he's going to be one of the higher owned 6K guys and could be a good spot to, just be off of that chalk. And so I've moved him down the list. He doesn't rate out super high for me anyways. He does score well. We know that. I had a 29th at Wyndham and North and a 21st last week, but if he's going to be kind of that guy everybody kind of flows to, then there's definitely plenty of options in the 6K to gain leverage or be different at. Names that pop for me, so just kind of others that I think typically this range are this little sections lower owned. Hadn't heard much of, but I still like Stuart Sink. I mentioned, I think he's probably going to be in that sub 5% range. Carlos Ortiz, very similar to Sink. I like both those guys this week. And then Palmer. I do think Palmer's been talked about a little more than I had hoped when I did the pod yesterday morning, which I kind of knew. There's a lot of narratives with him and Rahm playing well at the same courses, which they do. But I still don't see him being, like anything crazier than maybe 6-7% max down there at 6,400 coming off the miscut. Statistically wise, he's not going to rate out just super great. It'd just be a narrative. Now he putts well on bent, so that's one positive, but I still like him. I think you can get good low ownership there, especially in MMEs. Leverage play of the week. It's either going to be DJ or Spieth. You can kind of take your choice there. I don't know that I could play Spieth, but I talk about Schauffele being squeezed. Like Spieth is definitely squeezed. And he did not. He looked good at times, but I mean, he had the back-to-back eagles, which is all typical Spieth. I know we get that, but struggled with the driver a little bit. Irons weren't great. At 10-8 that you're paying, that's the real deal. Like if he's 8,700 or even low nines or something like that, maybe you could take more chances, but it's just going to squeeze him he'll be 6 to 8% max in my opinion. DJ probably a little higher than that, but still, I think we probably get another DJ week under 10%. I would definitely lean DJ as a leverage play of the week over Spieth. But I don't hate Spieth. If you want to, I mean, if you're building 20 lineups and you want 5% of them and you're going to be about levered, that's one. So you put them in one out of 20. That's not horrible. If you're building 50, you put them in a few. That's not the end of the world if you want to gain some leverage or be even on the field with them there. But I lean DJ as leverage, but both those guys are going to come in as pretty good leverage plays of the week. As I mentioned, NASCAR's been on fire. We got the code NFL, 25% off everything. Big week this week. I know Ryan typically kills these kind of races. He's got his strategy article ready. Nonstop talk in the GC Warrior Room NFL channel on best ball stuff right now. Season-long drafts are going on and coming this weekend. Tomorrow, when I do the ownership review, I'll also talk about the Sony Michel deal, how that impacts things in my eyes. I don't think it changes much for Henderson, in my opinion, but we'll get into that a little bit tomorrow. And I'll probably talk about some of the, how I see things shaking out for maybe the first quarter of the season. Some of these quarterback battles and what to think about key positional battles that we have and teams, who's moved up, who's moved down. How is Wentz going to be back week 1? How's that impact things? I hope you all jumped on that Colts over bet that I put out at 8.5 when I thought the market overreacted too soon. College football returns Saturday. Bobby's got everything covered there. It's going to be awesome. Not too thrilled with the payout structures in college football still, but hopefully they continue to improve. I'll keep pressing the people I can to get better payouts. But it's fun to have real football that counts. Preseason has been fun. It's been, but it's still kind of a luck box. This is, real football. And college football is going to be a little difficult at times this year. We're still going to be dealing with some of the COVID stuff and inactives, and we just don't get that information where it's required like the NFL. So being in that GC Warrior Room is huge on Saturday mornings when we're trying to search Twitter for beat writers and find out this guy's in, out, all that kind of stuff. Last minute outs last year really helped us a lot in some of the contests because we can move off quickly when we saw it. Super excited for that. The Green Machine, we pushed some updates yesterday for NFL and college football. Lineup optimization. We have more updates coming. The NFL tools will be dropping soon, and I'll be doing tutorial videos over Green Machine and NFL tools. And I'll probably hit on the PGA tools for those that hadn't used them or still struggling with them or whatever, and kind of rebrief on those for the fall swing because we'll still have that covered. So I'm really excited for everything we got going on now. Come check us out. Spread the word. Tell a friend or two. It certainly helps us. Goes a long way. I think, word of mouth is just as effective as advertising and blasting all over. There's so many sites and a lot of good ones out there that coming from a personal friend that says, hey, this is a good site. Go check it out. It's 7 days free trial. Certainly helps a lot. And that, especially all you OG guys that got in super, super cheap. I get asked all the time, how can I pay it back? I'm in at a tremendous deal. This is one way. It really helps a lot. If you obviously if you upgrade to the full side, I think that helps us a lot too. And I think everybody's really going to be pleased where we are by the end of football season, just after we get through it all. Going into the season, it's going to be awesome. It's going to continue to get better and better and better, and we'll be full steam ahead. Come here in a couple weeks for week 1 NFL. College football lineup optimizer is going to be ready by Saturday, so you can come check that out too. A great time to take advantage of that 7-day free trial, and I'm pretty confident you'll stay. The Warrior Room in Slack is amazing as well, and so just being in there is a fun and exciting for all sports, NFL, NBA, NBA, MLB. We have an NFT channel that people talk about in there, all kinds of things. So come give us a try. I will be back tomorrow for ownership review and some NFL talk, and maybe probably touch on a little bit of college football, my thoughts as we head into week 0 of the season. You guys have a blessed day. Good luck building lineups. I'll have GUP's final thoughts out for you premium members here early afternoon. Thank you.